welcome to Mom Boss Chronicles, the show that celebrates the incredible journey of mom bosses who are conquering the world of business and motherhood. We are your hosts, Jen,
Danielle, and Sue.
Make sure to like and subscribe and share with your mom friends today. Welcome, everybody, to Mom Boss Chronicles. Today we have a special guest, Alissa Garcia. She's my sister and also a recent attendant of a Tony Robbins seminar.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which one did you go to?
Unleash the power within.
And before we talk about the seminar, tell me about how many days is it that you were there?
So it's 4 days.
Okay.
It's 50 hours in 4 days.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So it's a
Yeah.
commitment.
50 hours?
50 hours
So
in
it's
4
more than a
days.
work week.
It's more than a work week.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a weekend. Well, it's like Thursday, Friday, then Saturday, Sunday.
So
Okay.
a big commitment.
It is a big commitment.
And the time frame was usually like what, midday to late night?
Yeah. So like usually like 10 a.m., sometimes a little earlier, a little later, all the way till like the first night went till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Which we'll get into. And then the other nights are like 11, 12. But you don't want to leave. So like
When you're there,
when you're there, you're just...
And
it
how
goes.
did you know that you should go to this? Like what?
Yeah, that's a good question. So actually, this is technically my third Tony Robbins event. The other ones I did virtually last year. So I was going through a lot of life changes and have always like wanted to know about Tony. If you guys have watched the Netflix special, Not My Guru,
I
that's
have,
Date with
yeah.
Destiny. That's my like dream one now to go to. That's 6 days.
That's the
But
next step.
That's the next step. So initially, this is like a good entry program into his world because it's the shortest, 4 days. And last year I did it virtually, and I like totally they call it playing full out, and it's like you especially virtually, you kind of seclude yourself into your house. You have your laptop, you have your water, your food, like you're not leaving your house. So I definitely did the
No
same
distraction.
thing. No distractions.
Yeah.
I did it last year. My son was 1, and he was able to like kind of enjoy some of it too.
Aw.
So I did have a little bit, but then dad and family have helped watch him, so I was able to really focus. But there's something about it. I got a lot of clarity last year, and I heard he was going to be in Jersey the following year.
So how did you know even about the virtual and why to do the virtual? Like,
So he had like a free women's seminar, and they just had a bunch of
That's
women
amazing.
speakers, and they were just actually gearing towards women. It's not a women's only event, but the seminar was that I had heard from, and then they were just kind of like, okay, if you want more to grow, try an Unleash with Power
isn't it
Within.
cool how like the universe showed you? these
Yeah,
little
like it was a
things?
Facebook ad to this
Yep.
seminar for women. That was one
What's
day.
funny is like I got the same thing when I
Right?
did the online one. I guess it was probably 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
So cool,
and it's
right?
like,
An
yeah.
ad.
And that led to this. That led
Yeah,
to
and that led to this, and then so that my virtual one was last November.
And did you get a lot from that?
I got a lot. I had like a whole notebook full of stuff. I had my best year in real estate.
Oh.
I got, financially, I'm in a much better place. Emotionally, I'm in a much better place. But I just still felt like I wasn't 100%, which I don't think you ever feel like 100%. But I was ready to like level up again. So when I figured out I can do it in person and like experience it all, even though I kind of knew what was going to happen, you don't know.
Well,
in
there's
live.
nothing in comparison to like
Yeah.
also going in person,
Going there.
meeting people, and like
Yes.
really experiencing that
Experiencing
firsthand.
it all.
And feeling that energy.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was like, how could I not? It was in Jersey.
Yep.
I could drive
And did
back
people
and forth.
come from all over?
Canada,
Wow.
Argentina, Chile,
Oh my God.
California, Salt Lake
Like people
City,
travel for this.
Europe. Yeah, they really
Wow.
do. Mm-hmm.
So it meant a lot of people.
And they'll do like, this is like their 10th one. Like some people, it really does speak to them. And
Yep.
some people have waited a few years
Yeah.
and like have gone back. I'm like, okay, I need to like freshen up.
It's like an adjustment, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
no,
get out of
it
line.
is a soul adjustment, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Adjustment.
But I would, oh my God, I would go to like all of them if I
Yeah,
could.
if I could,
yeah.
yeah.
I had the benefit of seeing him at United Wholesale Mortgage.
Yes.
Remember when I
Oh,
went out with
an
Ohio.
event that
Yeah.
you went to.
Yep, exactly.
He was the keynote speaker.
Yeah.
That's-
Mhm.
yeah. And
I
even
mean-
that little, you only had a couple hours
It was
with him,
it
right?
was it, but it was so
Impactful.
inspiring and invigorating, and I walked away with so many different tools, like things, a different way of thinking about things, right? So like
Yeah.
I'm sure that's
I think his biggest thing that he's so good at is when you looked around the room, it was completely diverse.
Yeah.
Age, cultural background, languages. They translate in like over 100 languages. People wear
Wow.
headphones
Yeah.
as they're listening to him live, and they have translators.
That's amazing.
And just like gender, like all types of people, political views, like everybody
Socioeconomic,
there,
right?
just people who have like saved up my like tips to come here, and people who have like I brought my whole team here, like they
Yeah.
can afford it. Just like he just resonates with so many
Yep.
people that whether you hear him speak for an hour or you hear him speak for 4 days, you just get so much out of him.
And it's funny because I'm sure some people are skeptical, right? They're like, oh, is it
It's drinking
hokey?
the Kool-Aid.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
they say it. They're like, you're going to go home and everyone's going to be like, who is this?
Yeah.
And
you
why?
drank the Kool-Aid and blah, blah, blah. And I did. No, I did drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Like, and it's funny, one of the employees at the Prudential Center where I went was like, is this like a church or something?
I love
You
that.
didn't
Like,
know who Tony Robbins was?
Yeah, kind
Oh my
of. Not
God.
really. But it's one of those things where he just, and he says it a lot in the program, he's not doing anything for you. He's
Right.
just helping you find within yourself what you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. Like he's like, I can tell you all this, but if you don't in your heart believe like you can do this or you can't find the tools,
nothing will change.
Nothing's going to change. So
Yeah.
like you can listen and dance with me all you want, but like it's unleashing your own power.
Oh, so true. You
Yeah.
have the power.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have the power. He's like, I'm not anything special. Like, you have the power.
Yeah.
Do you drink celery juice in the morning?
I am starting to.
Yeah.
I
Is that
haven't
a thing he
started
does?
yet.
So
Yeah.
what are the tips he gives?
So one of the days they do is they spend on health, and it's about a lot about different things in health. But in health, it just because you want your body to be at its best, whether that's resting,
That is so
breathing,
true. Like,
exercising.
That's logical. right,
Celery
but
juice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
and
if
what
you-
you're consuming.
What
right.
you're consuming.
Yep.
Like if you want to continue to be at that state, right? If everyone's ever been, you know what I'm talking about. That state, you have to be healthy, and celery juice is a huge thing. So it's funny. I picked 3 things. So they give you like 10 or 11 to do, and I was like, celery juice is one of them. So I
Yeah.
have my juicer.
And does the celery juice
And-
not taste good though?
It doesn't. So I found a recipe that makes it taste
If
good.
not, if you need one too, I have
Yeah,
one for you.
Okay.
Mhm.
That makes it taste good. And I
and
think
why
at the end of the day, you get
celery
rid-
juice?
there is like when you break it down, it just has really good vitamins and nutrients in it that's going to really cure your
It's like
digestive
right,
system.
like
Okay,
so
I'll
it's
do
like drinking that the first thing in the morning.
Morning.
So that's like you're
On
you're getting
empty.
your body
Ready.
ready for the day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's just like really good for your gut and like what it does for your brain and
And
you're
celery
just like
juice is-
starting your body in like healthy state. Like
Yep.
are you consuming a lot of water? Like water based foods. Like
And,
you just want to be healthy.
and you're not starting your morning with coffee because it's
Yeah.
acidic, right? So you're
Yeah.
starting your morning like with your digestive system going like so you're getting off to the right
getting
foot.
off to the right foot, yeah.
I love that. Celery, that's awesome. So
It's
you're,
so good.
and
I'm
then-
gonna show it, yeah.
yeah.
I have my
I got a
juicer
really good juicer from Amazon.
Did
Really
you?
cheap. Yeah, we can link it.
I was just thinking, I was like, I need a
So
juicer.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what other like things did you get, or would you say?
Yeah, I think the biggest one of the things you get is the community. Like I'll start off with that. That you go. I went by myself live, and it's funny. I had a couple people
Were you
like,
scared going by yourself?
It's a good question. I couple people like, oh, I'll go with you, and I was like, no. I kind of, although part of me was also like recruiting, but I
Yeah.
think that was the fear in me. Like, oh, I'm
Right.
going to sit alone.
It's intimidating.
It's intimidating. But then after, as I was getting closer, I was like, I want to do this by myself.
Like it's challenged to
Yeah.
feel right. Like I can do this.
I can do this. So, you know, Jen's my sister, and if you guys hear the podcast, Jen's a really good interpersonal person. She makes friends very easily. Not that I don't make friends, but I think because I have a sister that's so engaging, I'm like, maybe I'm not as engaging as that. So the challenge to me was like, I'm going to go and I'm going to see if I can make friends.
Yeah.
And I ended up walking away with like 2 amazing people in
That's
my life that I
awesome.
text.
Aw,
Yeah. And then
yay.
other people that I met and heard
Yep.
their stories. And I was like, wait, I can make friends.
And did
And,
you,
that's
like,
one of the
course.
beliefs that you walk in. You're
Yeah.
like, I'm telling myself this story, but the truth is that I'm not that I
Right.
actually can be engaging. with
It's
my
so true.
friends.
What's the story we repeat in our head?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think the community is the biggest first thing. Like you walk in there and there's 10,000 people
Holy
doing what
smokes.
you're about to do.
Wow.
It's overwhelming.
And it's
You
overwhelming.
know, all like the energy, like that energy
feel it.
reverberating.
And they do such a good job with like the lighting and just forcing you to like talk to one another. And it's funny, you're spilling your guts to somebody sitting next door, and then you're like, I don't know you, like, but I'm gonna tell you my truth, like
Yeah.
everything that's fearing me. And the community I think is a great thing, and they do a lot to like upkeep that community
Right.
because they want you to like stay, you know, in that process. And there's some things that work better for others, but some stuff I've walked away with is just really good friends right now, and just like community.
And you
I can
happen
go
to sit
to.
next to them one day? And that's
So
all?
yeah, so I think that I'm a religious person. God works in mysterious ways, and I could have sat somewhere completely
Yeah.
different. There's 10,000 people,
Yeah.
and where I sat were these 2 females who also came by themselves from New Jersey, also were commuting,
Oh my God.
and we have so much aligned that like when you go back in our history, and there was so much that we could like talk about, and we just said at the end of the 4 days, like, thank God we met each other because like we had such a breakthrough, because then you start off like you're stacking like all these experiences together. So by the 4th day, you're like, wow, we did this
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you like 4 days ago,
Yeah.
but
You
we
feel
did it
bonded.
together.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
feel
for
a good
sure.
bond. Yeah.
There are no mistakes, you know,
There
and
are
who we
no
meet in our
mistakes.
lives, there are no mistakes like that, you
Yeah.
know.
And it's so funny because my best experiences with them is the fire walk. So we can jump
Oh my
into the
gosh,
fire
wait,
walk.
I forgot all about the
Yeah.
fire walk.
And that's the first day.
So
Holy
the first
moly.
day is the fire walk. And the fire walk is essentially to show you can do whatever it is you want to do in life. And it was like intense amount of hours of prepping you for this fire walk.
Really?
Like, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. And then when you're sitting there, you're kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. Like,
Maybe I don't want
he's
to.
telling you examples like your stove is hotter than these coals. Your stove is like a fourth as hot as these coals are.
my
And you won't even
God.
put your hand on the stove. Like, and now I have to walk something 4 times as
On
that.
my
And I got to
feet.
walk
On my
across
bare
the
foot.
bare feet.
Yeah.
And you know, I won't give it all away, but they pump you up, and they're just reminding you like this is, and he says it, if you don't stay in control of your mind and you walk into their, no offense, weak,
Yep.
you will get burned.
Yeah.
And you will get hurt, and it will not be good. You have to be so sure of yourself that you are going to make it across.
Believe,
You have to believe. And literally you're chanting the words yes. Like,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, believe
And
it.
so the 2 girls that I met, like the best moments with them is like they were so into it, and I was like a little fearful, and I'm like, okay, well, they're so into it, they're gonna do it, I guess I'm gonna do it too. Like, you're like, I'm surrounded by people who kind of all said the same thing, like there's thousands of people around me that are gonna do it.
They
I'm gonna
believe.
do it.
Yeah.
Believe. And then you get across and you're like, oh wow, we all did it.
Yeah.
Do you know what that so resonates me with? Like, believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Even when you don't see it, right? Like, I do see yes for me for that. And also who you surround yourself with.
100%.
You surround yourself with people who say, no, you can't do it.
Can't do
You're
it.
not doing it.
You're not doing
Well, we
it.
were talking about like imposter syndrome the other
Yes.
day, you know, like because Allie and I have done really well this year
Oh
with
my God,
real
you guys
estate.
have-
And like, you know, there's still the moments where I'm like, well, I probably could have done like better, you know,
Aw.
and like I was saying, we were saying that to each other. It's like, we got to stop, you know? Like,
Yes. Like I walked into there
But-
knowing that imposter syndrome was
Yeah,
a fear of
right.
mine. And I was like, I really got to walk away this weekend. Like, it's not happening.
right.
anymore.
Learning how to like grab it
Yeah.
by the neck and be like, no, bitch.
And
get
it
out of
doesn't
here.
mean you don't feel it or
Yeah.
that it doesn't come to your mind, but you have
Right.
90 seconds to make a decision.
Yep.
Am I going to let this sit with me or am I going to move on?
So true. It doesn't mean like you're not negative because everybody's like, oh, you know,
Yeah,
you
you're
think
blind
must
and
always
you
be
just-
so positive.
yeah.
But no, it doesn't mean that you don't think negative things. But
Of
you have
course.
to like
Train
Make
your
that
brain.
Yeah.
You're training
Yeah.
your brain. That's what it is. It's you're training your brain. Like, I'm making the conscious decision. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
Because like, what's the alternative? What you're gonna, and that's part of the process. You're gonna live in this negative state. And
Right.
what's gonna happen?
What are you gonna
You
track?
won't sell real estate.
Yeah.
You won't make phone calls.
Nope.
You won't connect with people.
Nope.
And then you're like, yeah, see, I told myself I wasn't gonna make any business.
And I was right.
And
Yeah.
I was right.
Mhm.
Or you're like, no, I'm gonna make the freaking phone call.
Yep.
I'm gonna like
Be the
contact
best version every
people.
day.
I'm
Yep.
gonna keep showing up. I'm gonna answer people's questions. And then look, it all starts like clicking together.
100%. Yep. Even listen, not every day is peaches. You know, there's going to
Yeah.
be many challenging days, weeks, months, and it's all about having like that mental fortitude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so he breaks it down in like sections of your life, and you can like see like whether it's finances, relationships, emotional state, your time, what you give back, and you can grade them.
Like
and
some areas are probably good
better than others.
and that's for everyone, right?
Yeah, and like you can even in your lifetime, your seasons of life, like
Yeah,
sometimes you're better at certain things, but you should be great. You should feel good about that.
Aw.
And then the ones that you're not, you should just have a sort of a plan to say, okay, how do I just increase it, and not to perfection, but how do I go from like a 2 to a 4?
Right.
I love
Like how do I, or a 4 to a 6? How do I just go a little bit better so that I
Yeah.
feel like I made progress?
Yep.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh no, I just wasted another year and didn't do anything.
Right.
Because it could be such a vicious cycle of shame or like
yeah,
guilt and, like,
and guilt, and I like how he like breaks. That's another part like of the day where he breaks it down, and it's like, okay, what areas do you want to focus on, so that you have to be so clear on what you
Yeah.
want, and it's like manifesting. Like
Yep.
you have to write it down and say, okay, and you vision it, and like you're like, okay, so like right now, not a small goal of mine, but I would say an easier goal of mine is I'm gonna run the half marathon in Disney, and I'm just like visioning myself
I love
crossing
it.
the finish line. I'm
You,
like, I'm
Yeah.
you see it. You
Let's
see yourself
cross the
doing it.
finish line. Yeah, I'm like, we're doing it in this time. I
Yep.
texted my little sister who's doing it with me. I'm like, we're doing it together, and we're gonna cross. And I'm like, this is an easier one.
Yep.
But you know, there's bigger ones that you challenge yourself.
I mean, I couldn't imagine doing a half marathon. So
Can't
like
run a marathon. I can't even run a mile.
Your outlook already is like
Oh my God,
miles
it's
ahead,
easier
pun intended.
one.
You know.
Yeah, it's so true.
No, that's awesome.
And how
That's
old
great.
is Tony Robbins? Right? 'Cause
so he's
He's, like, just
64.
crazy.
and
older.
he's like amazing shape, amazing like
Yeah, he's got amazing shape. I mean, so I'm sure like back in the day he would done it all live, like all 4 days. And now he has some people that help him,
Yeah.
and they do to day 2 and 4-ish. And then he has some of the videos that he shows too.
That's
so
awesome.
he preserves himself for the peak things that
Love
really
that.
need him.
Makes sense.
And then for the other parts, he either has videos or other speakers, and it works. Like it works really well together. Everybody's on the same page, and you still feel the energy like in the room of him. Yeah, what he's built. I think he says it. He's like, I was an owner operator, and now I'm no longer that. Now I'm just a business owner that can grow something. And he's like, for all the business, there's a lot of like real estate agents that go, or business people that go. He's like, you're gonna burn yourself out if you stay so like white knuckled in the business. You have to kind of learn to release and balance it out so you could still keep delivering a good product. And I think for being 64, like he delivers an amazing product.
Yeah. I mean, which is why people come from all over the world. And
he only does this one twice a year, so you only have 2 chances to do it. He does his other one once a year, so there's only a handful of chances to like experience it now.
And then he does like I've heard like a mastery too, right? Like,
so there's like business mastery, life mastery, wealth mastery, health, like a lot of different relationships. Like he has tools now for almost everything, and they call it like the universe. I like the universe because I feel like if I really did want to connect into something, there's something to be plugged into. And I just think it goes back to the lesson of like, I don't need this, but I want the support to remind myself like I can do it.
100%. And I know it wasn't cheap.
No,
but it is truly, if you think about it, an investment in yourself.
It is. And I, weirdly enough, have every time I've done something with Tony, so this is like technically my 3rd-ish time, I have walked away. I do real estate. I've walked away with a real estate deal. And I'm like, I think that is God's sign to remind me like all of this is an investment. So like, even though I paid for a whole weekend to be here, I've made arrangements for my son to be taken care of. I've like took my dogs, clients. I'm like talking to everyone, like moving things around. I get rewarded back my hard work, and I'm making a deal come together, even though I'm not physically with my client right now.
It's just a testament to like we could do hard things. And like it's a testament. I know like people like to have excuses, like I don't have the money, I don't have the time. But if you believe that it will give you infinite back.
Those are things he calls like limiting beliefs. And you'll stack them. You'll be like, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I'm too young, I don't have the resources. Like I never had the education.
Or you know what? Because it's so easy to make excuses, right? It's so easy to say, oh, I can't because or whatever. It's work to say, no, I can and I will because I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z.
It's stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yes, of course. Like it takes work to be a badass.
It really does. And I think you always you hear this a lot from a lot of different people. You circle yourself with people, right? And you start asking them advice, and then people will be like, no, don't do it. And my parents,
our parents are
always like, don't do it. And I'm like, wait, why am I listening? I love my parents, don't get me wrong, but why
they're
am I
coming from the
to
9 to 5 job.
Like, I'm like, are they going to truly be the ones that help dictate my life? Yes, to some degree, my parents are great parents. So when it comes to parental advice, yes, I will be going to them and listening to everything they say. But when it comes to maybe a housing decision, a business decision, they didn't build a business.
Right.
They never like bought and sold houses for the emphasis of like making a profit. They don't know that. So I think Tony reminds you, like, surround yourself with people who are maybe the
Next
guru
step.
of that, and then ask that person that.
So
like
true.
you
Like
need
aspire.
something for
you
everything.
Aspire to be.
You can't go to one person for all aspects of your life.
No,
they're going to tell you, don't do it.
Right.
And it's their way of protecting you. Like I remember like learning that psychology. Like people aren't trying to be negative with you.
No.
They're just being like, well, I don't think it's worth that investment of your time because I want you to be okay.
Right.
But they don't realize the big picture. It's like you want me to be okay or I want me to be great.
Yeah,
like
great.
So it's going for the greatness.
He brings out great examples. So like 2 I'll highlight is like Walt Disney, I think, went to 300 banks before he was able to get a loan. He brought that
and he had
up.
that vision and didn't
he
stop.
had this vision. He's like, what? He was told no. 300
Anybody would have stopped.
And like Disney World would have never existed.
Yeah.
And then he brings out another speaker. Her name is Jamie Kern Lima. She's the CEO of It Cosmetics. And if you don't know who she is, look her up. She spoke and she was told no for years. Like years.
To start.
I think I heard her story somewhere.
Like to start her business, she was told no. And she was like, I just knew though in my gut that like women needed this product.
Yep.
And the crux of it all was that they wanted like a model to sell her product. And she's like, no, I want a real woman to sell my product. I want to show real women, the moms out there, like all types of women out there, that you can buy this from somebody who looks like you, not necessarily an airbrushed version of you. And that was like her issue in the beginning. And she was told no like 100 times, 4 years. She's like, I almost went bankrupt. But she's like, but I knew in my gut that this is the right thing for me. And so he kind of like highlights those stories to remind you, if there's something that you know is the truth, only you know. And you have to like do that.
Perseverance.
And most people would give up the first time.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
So the first 5 times, so the first 10 times.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about real estate clients, like you get one that doesn't want to
offer
work with
denied.
you, and you puts you in
Or
tears.
even if you're putting in offers and you get your offer denied.
you get your teeth kicked in, and you'd be like, oh, I'll quit.
Right.
But
Like, maybe I shouldn't buy a house or do that.
Yeah.
But if you really, like you said, if you really believe in your heart, it's meant for you.
It's the timing, or it's the right, or this is the business for me. Whether all of that is. I mean, I think back to, I knew that when I had a child, I wanted to like be off as much as I could, but I was in corporate. So like, how is that ever going to work? I had no clue. And then I moved into real estate, and, for 18 months, my son didn't have to go anywhere. He was with me, all the time. And then now he's with me 2 days a week. So I still have the balance. It's not easy. And there are times I doubt it all the time. But it's a conscious choice to say, okay, no, I'm going to enjoy these years. Because in September, he's going to go to daycare, preschool 5 days a week.
Yep.
And there will be no choice for him to like stay home with me. So, I think Tony reminds you of like, if this is something that's in your gut, you're going to find a way.
Oh, for sure.
You're going to find a way.
100%. And
just
like
doesn't make sense,
when our children are our why, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what better motivator, than that to really like put things in perspective, and like I will hustle. At the end of the day, before I ever go back to working in corporate, I will figure it out, because I appreciate that. Like when Michael has something at 4, when we're there.
You don't have to ask, can I leave early?
No, which could get denied.
So that was like another lesson, was like, what is wealth? And Tony explains it. Like, wealth is about like having family life, business life, and your money balanced.
Yeah.
Like when you can say, I got to go at 4, and I don't feel any guilt,
No.
and I still have money coming in. I'm still working on it. That's wealth,
right?
Like not necessarily
100%. And it's so funny because like growing up, when you're young, I'm like, oh, I want a mansion, and I want like these cars, and I want this and that, like all these
flashy,
totally like very shallow things, right? But you're so like, it's so right. The wealth really does come from spending time with your family, being available for them, being present
in the moment,
right? And then also like, I love selling real estate, so getting to work in a career that like genuinely love too, like that's wealthy.
Yeah,
right.
That's
wealthy.
Then when you get to choose that,
right?
Yeah,
and I have like
working and doing things that they didn't want to choose, that they wouldn't have chosen for themselves.
100%. So many people, like I like my house. It's great. I always thought I wanted a mansion. I don't want a mansion.
I know.
I'm totally happy with what I have. I'm happy with my white Ford Explorer. Like I'm good.
Yeah, and you have an amazing home. That's what you mean. But
like, our definition of wealth
has changed, and I think he helps you see that, and it's different for everybody else. Yeah, gratitude, everything. So start your day. So if you have never experienced Tony, one thing I would say is look up his priming exercise, and that's just a small example of what he does. And it's a 15-minute exercise that you should do every morning, and it reminds you to be grateful that
priming
priming. Tony Robbins.
You're priming your day.
You're priming your brain. You're priming your day. You're going into the day grateful and with a vision for your life.
I love it.
And then that way, when all this stuff comes, you're like, I can handle it. Like, okay, that's just stuff. I still have this vision that I'm going to get there. You have to go through it. You can't go around it.
But
you can't also let everybody else like tell you what to think. You kind of have to dictate your brain.
Think for yourself.
Think for yourself. So if you ever wanted to look up like what he's really like in a small dose, like priming, it's 15 minutes and you can do it every morning. It's like a meditation, and it just
priming and celery juice now.
Yeah.
It just starts your day, and it just is like a small little token of what he does.
And I feel like in this world, it's so easy to compare ourselves to other people through social media.
Oh, totally.
Right? And feel like our lives should be lived through those lenses of what other people have or do. And be like, well, I'm not doing it their way or doing it that way. But it's so true. But listening to yourself.
Yeah.
Like meditating, quieting yourself down.
Yeah.
Like, no, what makes me happy? Not what makes them happy or this person.
Right.
Like, what makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've no one else to live for but you, and
1,000%.
Sometimes you forget that because you're as women and as moms, we're so like, okay, I'm doing this for everybody else.
Yep.
Everyone's gotta be happy. I gotta make this all work out, and you don't get that time. And I'll tell this part of the story too. I went into this even though I knew what was gonna happen. I went into this even though I made plans. I was crying on the way in because I was leaving my son, and I called my mom, and I'm like, I don't know if I did the right thing. Like I'm gonna be
the
gone
first day.
I'm gonna be gone for 4 days. I'm driving to this event, and I'm like, this sucks. Like I'm gonna miss him. And even though like we've been apart, other times, but I just was like,
this time got you. It got you.
Got
it feels.
me.
Yep.
And my mom she did a great job. She just reminded me like, no, you're doing this for you.
Yep.
And she texted me like 4 hours later, like, how are you? And I was like, okay, I'm good now. Like I remember why I'm here and like what I'm gonna walk away with.
Right. You are doing it for you, and then that trickles down to your son as well because happy mom.
Yeah.
Happy children.
Happy children.
Like that's what
And
it all
shows
comes down
that,
to.
like, you still have doubt. That's human.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's still that doubt. Even though you sign yourself up for this, you make the plans, you still kind of go into it
doubt
like,
yourself.
did I do the right thing? Who has 4 days to give up?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have 4 days to give up. I'm about to go potty train my son too, and that's like another time commitment. And I am like, wow, how did I find this time?
Yeah.
Well, you just make the choice to do it.
It's like that saying, feel the fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it anyway.
Right.
Feel the doubt.
Do it anyway.
Acknowledge it and just keep going forward.
Keep trucking.
Yeah.
You know. Listen, you didn't like go party.
I know. I feel like I did because it's funny. I showed my sons too, and I showed him videos, and he literally was like, "Mom, you crazy? Mom, you dancing?
You're like jumping around
because I'm jumping around."
Yep.
And he hears the music because
Yep.
if you ever go to a Tony event, it's music heavy.
Yeah.
You're jumping around, you're feeling it, you're playing full out because you're letting go.
Yep.
And he's like, "Mommy dancing, Mommy you crazy," and it's just funny that like he was laughing because he's like, "I want to hear more woo," because in the videos they're like woo.
Yep.
And it's sweet because like at 2 I get to explain to him, okay, this is where I was for 4 days. This is what I was doing. And as he gets older and I keep investing in myself, he's gonna keep wanting to know, okay, what did you do those days and how did you spend
You're
your
setting
time?
the tone for him as he grows up as well. You know?
Yeah. So it was just funny how I was like showing him videos and he's like, I want to hear more woo.
Aww.
And the whoa yes, doesn't he do that, Gary?
Yeah. Whoa yes. Like that's one of the best parts too. And you get things where you like make a move, right? This is an example. And that way when you make this move, you've make it 100 times that weekend. And then when you make it when you're far away and the event's over and you're about to do something hard, you're like, it reminds you like, okay, no, I was just at Tony and he told me, we can do anything.
Yeah.
This one move is going to get me there and I'm going to be in a different state. And so like you make a move, you name yourself so that you can call yourself out like, okay, no, I'm going to be unstoppable. Alyssa, stop playing with yourself. And these are just tools that you can walk away with and you're like, okay, no, I'm carrying it with me. It's in my body now. It's not just like I sat and listened to a podcast. Like it's in me enough to like call it back out.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So if you haven't done it, definitely do it.
I want to go.
Right.
Next time,
That's it. So,
I'm in.
Yeah. So does it every year? Would you say
Every
Jersey?
year
in November?
In November in the United States of America. So I think next November is in California.
Oh, he moves it.
He moves it. Last
smart.
November was in Dallas, which is why I did it virtually.
And then and then Jersey this year.
Jersey was this year, and so he like rotates different cities.
'Cause I know Gary went to the Jersey one.
I think like 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah.
I'm down for a Cali one.
Right?
Go for a little
Like a
Cali trip.
trip?
Yeah.
I have a friend who traveled for the Date with Destiny.
Date with Destiny. I would say Date with Destiny is always in Florida.
Oh, okay.
And it's every December, and so that one's a little costlier.
And it's longer.
And it's 6 days.
Okay.
So
And
do they
it's just
recommend you
planning.
do Unleash the Power Within?
So it kind of gives you a opening, like they say it does open you up to really go into Date with Destiny like really prepared because in Date with Destiny they talk about values and beliefs heavily and that's kind of it's like what you are programmed to do. Unleash Power Within just touches on it.
Okay.
So you kind of go into it with like, okay, I kind of know my values are, but when I'm going in there, I'm really going to know who I am.
Dive into it.
Yeah. So they say they recommend it. You don't have to, but recommended definitely.
Like Unleash the Power, Date with Destiny.
And then go to Date with Destiny.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's virtual. So if you can't, you can do it virtually
Like
too.
he still has that option.
He has it for Date with Destiny also. So you can also do a Date with Destiny virtually. You don't have to be in Florida.
Yeah.
And if you can't make it to California, you can do it. And I do recommend doing it. I mean, I did it virtually by myself and it was just my first time. So I think it was good. But I would do it virtually with like people who are
Like
willing,
commit to
who
being
commit
in a,
because you can sit together and you can have breakfast
Even rent a
together.
hotel room. I
yeah,
guess,
you can rent a hotel
Right.
or whatever. You could do it both virtually or in person. You don't have to make the trip. But I will say doing both, I got different experiences. I definitely got both like good stuff out of it, but being in person is just
right.
like if you can do in person, do it.
I know you can't compare, right?
You can't compare to be in that room
physically
and just be surrounded
feeling
by
the energy
people.
And
like 10,000
And you made
people.
friends.
And I made friends.
Right.
Yeah, I made like lifelong friends.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So inspiring.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool to like go to inspiring events, be around other inspiring people, and just spread that message in the world.
Like-minded.
Yeah, plug in. That's important.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
If anybody wants to follow you, where can they find you?
You can find me at Allie Garcia NJ at Instagram.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope this inspires you. Make sure to like and subscribe. Have a great day.